Hello, Army. Lights dim, heartbeat rises, and suddenly the question hits you harder than any chart ranking ever could. When the cameras stop rolling and the stages go quiet, who are the BTS members that cling not out of weakness, but out of love? Not the kind of clingy that feels awkward or forced, but the kind that makes you smile without realizing it, the kind that feels human, warm, and dangerously relatable. This is not about fan service, not about scripted moments, and definitely not about stereotypes. This is about those subtle instincts that slip through cracks. Jungkook forgetting personal space when he laughs too hard, Taehyung leaning without asking, RM unconsciously grounding himself through touch, and moments that fans didn't expect but somehow needed. Why do some members reach out more than others? Is clinginess a personality trait, a love language, or a quiet survival mechanism inside a group that grew up under pressure together? And here's the real mystery no one talks about. Why does their clinginess feel so comforting instead of suffocating? Tonight, we're peeling back the polished idol image and diving into the raw, everyday closeness that only 7 people who shared dorm rooms, dreams, breakdowns, and world stages could understand. No spoilers, no exaggeration, just lived-in moments, real habits, and emotional fingerprints that tell us who really needs a shoulder, who becomes the shoulder, and who can't help but hold on a little longer than expected. This is a top list, yes, but it's also a reflection of growth, trust, and the quiet ways love shows up when nobody's counting. Stay with me, because once you notice these patterns, you'll never unsee them, and every hug, glance, and casual lean will suddenly feel louder than any performance ever could. Number 7. Jhope being ranked last doesn't mean he's distant, cold, or emotionally unavailable. Far from it. In fact, his position here makes his clinginess even more meaningful because when Jhoseok clings, it's never casual, never accidental, and never for show. Jhope is the emotional thermostat of BTS, the one who reads the room faster than anyone else, who adjusts his energy to keep the group stable. Most of the time, he's the giver, not the grabber. He's the one hyping others, filling silence with laughter, turning tension into rhythm. That's exactly why his moments of clinginess hit harder than expected. Jhoseok doesn't lean on others because he needs reassurance every minute. He leans because he trusts. Watch closely and you'll notice that his clingy moments usually appear when the group is exhausted, emotionally drained, or standing on the edge of something big. He reaches out not to be held, but to anchor himself and others at the same time. His hugs are long but controlled, his touch is light but intentional, like he's saying, "I'm here, we're okay," without using words. There's a reason members often say Jhope feels like home energy. He creates safety first before allowing himself to need it. When he links arms, rests his head briefly on a shoulder, or suddenly wraps someone up from behind, it feels less like dependence and more like emotional maintenance. Behind the bright smile is someone deeply disciplined, someone who trained himself to carry pressure quietly, and that discipline makes his clinginess selective. He doesn't invade space, he enters it with permission. Fans who only see his sunshine persona sometimes miss this layer, but longtime watchers know. Jhope's clinginess shows up in micro moments, in backstage silence, in tired laughs after practice, in the way he stays physically close when someone else looks overwhelmed. He's not clingy because he needs attention. He's clingy because he understands connection. And when the group needs grounding, Jhoseok doesn't shout or dramatize it, he simply stays close, proving that sometimes the most powerful form of closeness is knowing exactly when to hold on and when to let go. Number 6, Jin's clinginess is the kind that sneaks up on you, because at first glance, he looks like the least likely candidate to need physical closeness. He plays the role of the confident oldest taehyung so well that people forget how intentional his warmth really is. Jin doesn't cling loudly. He doesn't demand attention or dramatize affection. Instead, his clinginess hides behind humor, food, teasing, and responsibility. He uses jokes as a bridge, then quietly stays close once the bridge is built. Watch how Jin positions himself in group settings. He often chooses proximity over spotlight, sitting near members rather than center, subtly maintaining a physical presence that says, "I'm here. You don't have to worry." His clinginess often shows through caretaking habits, offering food, fixing clothes, checking if someone ate, gently touching a shoulder while joking. These aren't random gestures. They're his way of staying connected without making it obvious that he needs that connection too. Jin grew up fast inside BTS, becoming a pillar before he fully understood his own emotional needs. As the oldest, he absorbed pressure silently, and that shaped how he expresses closeness. When Jin leans in, it's usually during moments of vulnerability fatigue after long schedules, during interviews where tension creeps in, or when younger members look unsure. He clings not because he wants reassurance, but because he wants to give stability, even when he himself is tired. And yet, there are rare moments when the mask slips, when Jin becomes unexpectedly clingy in a more obvious way, resting his head on a member's shoulder, lingering in hugs a second longer than necessary, staying physically close when he could easily step away. Those moments feel intimate because they're unguarded. They reveal someone who has spent years being strong first and soft second. His military service era only amplified this realization. When Jin returned, his physical closeness felt warmer, more deliberate, like someone who learned the value of presence the hard way. Jin's clinginess is rooted in loyalty and emotional maturity. He doesn't cling to be filled. He clings to reinforce bonds he's protected for years. That's why his affection feels grounding rather than heavy. When Jin stays close, it's not about neediness, it's about choosing connection every single time, even when no one asks him to. Number 5. Suga's place on this list surprises a lot of people, and honestly, that's exactly why he belongs here. His clinginess doesn't look like hugs, dramatic gestures, or constant physical touch. It looks like staying. It looks like choosing the same seat, the same space, the same people again and again, even when no one is paying attention. Yoongi is the definition of low-energy affection, the kind that doesn't beg to be noticed, but becomes painfully obvious once you recognize the pattern. He rarely initiates physical contact, but when he does, it's deliberate and deeply personal. A hand on a knee during a serious conversation, leaning back against a member during a break, quietly resting near someone without saying a word. These are Yoongi's versions of clinging. His emotional language is built on consistency, not intensity. Yoongi grew up learning to survive by relying on himself, and that history shaped how cautiously he approaches closeness. For him, clinginess isn't about seeking comfort. It's about allowing himself to be seen without armor. That's a big deal for someone who spent years convincing himself that vulnerability was a liability. Watch how he reacts when members initiate contact first. He rarely pulls away. In fact, he often relaxes, stays still, lets it happen. That stillness is trust. Yoongi's clinginess becomes most visible during quiet moments, late nights in studios, post-concert exhaustion, long car rides where words feel unnecessary. He doesn't fill silence, he shares it. And sharing silence is one of the most intimate forms of closeness there is. There are countless behind-the-scenes moments where Yoongi sits slightly closer than required, where he doesn't object when someone leans into his space, where he offers subtle reassurance through presence alone. His military-era letters and interviews revealed even more how much he values emotional bonds, how deeply he feels separation, even if he never dramatizes it. Yoongi clings through loyalty. He clings by staying connected to the same people through every version of himself. When he chooses proximity, it's not accidental, it's intentional vulnerability. And that's what makes his clinginess powerful. He doesn't need constant touch to feel close, but when he allows closeness, it's honest, grounding, and impossible to fake. Yoongi may never call himself clingy, but the way he stays rooted beside those he trusts says everything. Number 4. Jimin's clinginess is expressive, fluid, and deeply emotional, like something that lives just beneath his skin and rises to the surface whenever connection feels real. Unlike others who hide or restrain it, Jimin wears his need for closeness openly, unapologetically, and with a kind of vulnerability that feels almost brave. He is someone who communicates through touch the way others communicate through words. Hand-holding, leaning, hugging, resting his head on shoulders, casually wrapping arms around members without warning. These aren't habits he performs, they're instincts. Jimin grew up learning that emotional honesty is not weakness, and that belief shapes how he connects with the people he loves. His clinginess often intensifies during emotionally charged moments before performances, after mistakes, during serious conversations, or when someone he cares about seems even slightly off. He doesn't hesitate, he moves closer. What makes Jimin's clinginess special is that it's never self-centered. He doesn't cling to take comfort, he clings to share it. When he holds onto someone, it's like he's saying, "You don't have to carry this alone." His background as a perfectionist plays a huge role here. Jimin feels deeply, sometimes too deeply, and physical closeness becomes his way of regulating emotion, grounding himself in something real when thoughts spiral. Over the years, fans have noticed how Jimin gravitates toward members who seem emotionally burdened, how he becomes more physically affectionate when tension rises, how his touch becomes reassurance before words even form. His clinginess also reflects trust. He doesn't do this with just anyone. Inside BTS, that trust was built through shared exhaustion, shared fear, and shared growth. Jimin's military-era reflections and interviews only reinforced this understanding. He speaks often about missing presence, about the weight of distance, about how closeness matters more than pride. He is someone who feels separation intensely, and that makes his moments of attachment feel raw and honest. Yet Jimin is also self-aware. He knows when to pull back, when to give space, when his affection might overwhelm. That balance makes his clinginess comforting rather than consuming. He doesn't trap people, he invites them in. Watching Jimin cling is like watching someone choose softness in a world that constantly demands strength. It's emotional, unmistakable, and impossible to fake. And once you recognize it, you realize his clinginess isn't just a trait, it's his way of loving out loud. Number 3. RM's clinginess is fascinating because it lives at the intersection of intellect and instinct, logic and emotion, leadership and quiet dependence. Namjoon is not someone you'd immediately label as clingy, and that's exactly why his behavior stands out once you start paying attention. His clinginess doesn't come from insecurity, it comes from responsibility. As the leader, he spent years being the emotional and mental backbone of BTS, carrying decisions, mistakes, expectations, and the pressure of representing 6 other people to the world. Over time, that weight shaped how he seeks grounding, and grounding for Namjoon often comes through physical and emotional proximity. Watch how he naturally drifts toward members during conversations, how he stands slightly closer than necessary, how he places a hand on a shoulder while speaking, how he leans in when listening deeply. These are not habits of someone seeking attention. They're habits of someone subconsciously anchoring himself to something real while navigating constant mental noise. Namjoon's mind never stops moving, and closeness becomes a way to slow it down. His clinginess becomes most visible in moments of uncertainty, interviews where questions get heavy, award speeches where emotion creeps in, or behind-the-scenes discussions when decisions feel overwhelming. In those moments, he instinctively positions himself near the members he trusts most, often without realizing he's doing it. There's also a reflective layer to his clinginess. Namjoon is deeply aware of growth, time, and impermanence. He feels change intensely, and that awareness makes him value presence in a profound way. When he stays close, it's like he's holding on to the moment itself, grounding philosophy in human connection. During quieter eras, especially when BTS slowed down as individuals explored their own paths, his clinginess subtly increased, standing nearer, lingering longer, choosing shared spaces even when solitude would have been easier. His military-era letters and interviews revealed this even more clearly. He spoke about missing ordinary presence, about how proximity gives meaning beyond words. RM doesn't cling loudly or emotionally, he clings thoughtfully. His touch is brief but intentional, his closeness calm but consistent. It's the kind of clinginess that says, "I'm carrying a lot, and being near you helps me carry it better." And that's what makes Namjoon's attachment so human. Behind the eloquence and leadership is someone who finds balance not in isolation, but in staying connected to the people who grew with him. His clinginess is quiet, grounding, and deeply sincere a reminder that even the strongest anchors need something solid to hold onto too. Number 2, Taehyung's clinginess is emotional, instinctive, and beautifully unpredictable, the kind that doesn't ask permission because it comes straight from feeling rather than thought. V doesn't cling out of habit. He clings out of honesty. He is someone who lives fully in his emotions, and when he feels connected, he physically moves closer without hesitation. Leaning his head on a shoulder mid-conversation, wrapping arms around a member from behind, sitting impossibly close just because it feels right, Taehyung treats personal space as flexible when affection is involved. What makes his clinginess stand out is how natural it feels. There's no awkwardness, no calculation, no self-consciousness. He doesn't care how it looks, he cares how it feels. Taehyung grew up expressing himself through art, music, and emotion rather than logic, and that deeply shapes how he bonds. When he feels safe, he becomes physically expressive. When he feels misunderstood or emotionally overwhelmed, his clinginess intensifies. He seeks closeness not to be reassured verbally, but to feel understood without explanation. Over the years, fans have noticed that Taehyung's clinginess often appears during emotionally complex moments when the group is tired, transitioning, or dealing with internal pressure. He becomes more touch-oriented, more affectionate, more attached, as if closeness helps him process feelings he doesn't want to verbalize. His military-era reflections added even more depth to this understanding. He spoke openly about loneliness, about missing everyday presence, about how connection matters more than pride or image. Taehyung feels absence deeply, and because of that, presence becomes precious. When he clings, it's not because he lacks independence, it's because he values emotional truth over restraint. There's also a childlike sincerity to his affection that makes it feel pure rather than needy. He laughs while clinging, jokes while leaning, pretends it's casual when it's clearly emotional. And yet, he is also intuitive. Taehyung knows when his affection is welcomed and when space is needed. That emotional intelligence keeps his clinginess warm rather than overwhelming. Watching Taehyung cling feels like watching someone refuse to harden in an industry that often demands emotional distance. He chooses softness. He chooses closeness. He chooses to hold on when it feels real. And that fearless emotional honesty is exactly why he ranks so high on this list, because Taehyung doesn't just cling, he connects deeply, openly, and without regret. Number 1, Jungkook sits at the top of this list not because he tries to be clingy, but because closeness is simply his emotional default. His clinginess is instinctive, constant, and almost impossible for him to turn off, especially around the people he trusts most. From debut days until now, Jungkook has always been the member who forgets about personal space the moment he feels safe. Leaning on shoulders, wrapping arms around members mid-sentence, resting his head wherever it fits, grabbing hands without warning, following members from room to room without realizing it, he doesn't plan these moments, they just happen. Jungkook grew up inside BTS, emotionally and mentally, and that upbringing shaped how he expresses attachment. The members aren't just teammates to him. They are his reference point for comfort, identity, and stability. That's why his clinginess feels so natural and so intense. When Jungkook is tired, overwhelmed, excited, embarrassed, or emotionally overloaded, his first reaction is always physical closeness. He reaches before he speaks. He leans before he explains. And the more vulnerable he feels, the closer he gets. What makes Jungkook's clinginess so powerful is how honest it is. There's no performance, no self-awareness, no attempt to manage how it looks. He clings because his body moves towards safety faster than his mind can catch up. Fans have seen this countless times during lives, backstage footage, rehearsals, and quiet moments when the cameras weren't meant to catch anything dramatic. Jungkook sitting pressed against a member while listening, absent-mindedly holding onto someone's arm, leaning his full weight without apology. These are not exaggerated gestures, they're habits. His military-era absence only made this clearer. Jungkook has openly admitted how much he misses physical presence, how silence feels heavier without familiar energy nearby. Distance hits him hard because closeness is how he regulates emotion. He doesn't like feeling disconnected, and when he reconnects, his clinginess doubles, as if he's making up for lost time. There's also a deeply loyal layer to his attachment. Jungkook clings most to people he trusts completely, people who witnessed his growth, his mistakes, his fear, and his transformation from a shy teenager into a global icon. With them, he doesn't need armor. He becomes softer, more attached, more openly affectionate. And yet, his clinginess never feels manipulative or dependent. Jungkook is independent, disciplined, and mentally strong, but emotionally, he chooses closeness because it keeps him grounded. It reminds him who he is beyond the stage. Watching Jungkook cling feels like watching someone who never learned to hide love and never wanted to. He holds on because connection matters to him more than image, more than pride, more than distance. That raw, unfiltered attachment is exactly why he ranks number 1. Jungkook doesn't just get clingy, sometimes he lives in closeness, breathes in connection, and reminds everyone that loving openly is not a weakness, but a strength he's never been afraid to show.